There lived Obinna and Amina, a couple whose laughter had grown brittle with waiting. 7 years had passed since their wedding, yet the cries of a child had never visited their home. Their compound was neat, their hearts weary. Even their prayers had begun to sound like echoes of themselves. Every Sunday, they knelt in Grace Chapel, among believers who had stopped asking how long. The women still greeted Amina with that familiar mixture of pity and politeness. "Sister Amina, God's time is the best," they would say, and she would smile the small smile of those who have heard the same comfort too many times. Obinna, her husband, wore his pain like a clean shirt, always ironed, never removed in public. He was proud, ambitious, and fiercely unwilling to show weakness. He prayed, yes, but he prayed like a man negotiating a business deal with heaven. One afternoon, as thunder gathered in the east, Amina spoke gently. "My husband, maybe it is time to open our arms wider. Maybe a child already born somewhere is waiting to call us father and mother." Obinna's brow darkened. "Adoption, Amina. Are we now giving up on God?" "Perhaps God's answer has already come, only not in the way we imagined," she said. He rose, pacing. "A borrowed child will never carry my blood." His words fell heavy in the room. That night, Amina prayed alone. Her tears touched the floor like raindrops that refused to dry. She whispered, "Lord, even borrowed light can still brighten a dark room." And heaven, though silent, was not deaf. Across the town, in a small orphanage built of cracked walls and stubborn hope, a boy sat under a mango tree humming to himself. He was about 10, slender as the evening shadow, his eyes deep as water in an old well. His name was Chimdindu. "My God lives," to the workers. He was a strange child. He did not fight or weep for toys. He spoke to the wind as though the wind answered back. He said things that frightened even the matron. Once, when another boy mocked him for having no parents, he replied softly, "I do have a father. He just lives higher than yours." At night, he prayed for strangers, for a man who could not sleep, for a woman who cried in her kitchen. No one knew those strangers were Amina and Obinna. The next morning, Amina rose early. She prepared yam porridge and told Obinna, "Let us visit the orphanage today. If your heart remains unmoved, I will not speak of it again." Obinna sighed, tired of fighting the wind in her. "Very well, but don't expect any miracle." The road to the orphanage wound through fields and forgotten laughter. Children ran barefoot, shouting greetings as they passed. The matron, a woman with faith-worn eyes, welcomed them. Room after room they walked, watching small faces lifted like flowers to the sun. Some smiled shyly, some looked away. Amina's heart searched for something, a spark, a whisper. Then, beneath the mango tree, she saw him, the quiet boy humming to himself. "What's his name?" she asked. "Chimdindu," said the matron. "He says he already has a father." Obinna folded his arms. "Then he doesn't need another." But Amina stepped closer. The boy lifted his head, and for a brief moment, she felt the strange certainty of déjà vu, as though she had known him before birth. He smiled. "Are you the one my father told me about?" Amina's breath caught. "Who is your father, child?" "The one who never forgets," the boy said, and returned to his humming. Obinna shifted uneasily. "We came here for a child, not for riddles." But deep inside, a seed had already been planted, the kind of seed heaven waters in secret. That night, Amina could not sleep. The boy's words circled her mind like an echo from a dream. She turned to Obinna. "He is the one, that strange boy. He's not even a baby." Obinna groaned. "We came for innocence, not prophecy." But Amina smiled through her tears. "Sometimes, prophecy is the only true innocence." The next day, Obinna reluctantly signed the papers. Amina held Chimdindu's hand as they left the orphanage. The boy looked up at the sky and whispered, "Father, thank you. I am going home." The matron watched them go and said under her breath, "May this home not reject its own miracle, for she had seen too many hearts open and close again, like doors in the wind. When Chimdindu first stepped into the compound, dawn was just breaking. That tender hour when shadows and light wrestle like brothers before the eyes of God. Birds sang upon the mango tree by the gate, and even the breeze moved as though aware that something unseen had entered with the boy. Amina knelt beside him and whispered, "This is your home now, my son." The boy smiled faintly, touching the earth with his palm. "I know," he said. "I have dreamt of this house before." Obinna stood behind them, his arms folded, watching. To him, the boy was nothing more than a new burden, another mouth to feed, one that carried riddles instead of gratitude. Yet somewhere in his chest, something shifted, a memory perhaps, or a tremor he refused to name. The first weeks were quiet. Chimdindu was gentle, almost too gentle. He cleaned his plate, swept the veranda without being told, and prayed aloud before sleeping. Short, clear prayers that made Amina's eyes mist with wonder. Sometimes she would pause at his door, hearing him whisper, "Father, bless Mama Amina, and make Papa Obinna smile again." But Obinna only grew colder. He came home late, often carrying the scent of frustration from the restaurant where he worked. Amina had believed he was a manager. That was what he told her, and what she repeated proudly to her friends. In truth, he was a cleaner who wore his lies like perfume. Each day, he swept the floors of other men's success, while his own heart gathered dust, and each night, he knelt at the edge of their bed, pretending to thank God for blessings he had forged with deceit. He did not hate the boy, he hated what the boy represented: truth, patience, humility. Things he himself had long buried under ambition. One evening, Amina called him from the kitchen. "My husband, Chimdindu has something to show you." Obinna, weary from work, loosened his tie and entered the sitting room. The boy stood there with a Bible almost bigger than his hands. "Papa," he said shyly, "I want to recite what I learned today." Obinna sighed. "Go on, let's hear it." Chimdindu's voice rose, soft but steady. "Do not hide your face from me, O God, my Saviour. Though my father and mother forsake me, the Lord will receive me." The room fell silent. Amina's eyes glistened. Obinna's jaw tightened. "Where did you learn that?" he asked sharply. "In my heart," the boy answered. "My father taught me." Obinna snapped. "Then ask your father to also teach you not to quote sorrow in another man's house." He stormed out, slamming the door behind him. The boy's lips trembled, but he did not cry. He simply looked up, whispering, "Forgive him, Father. He does not yet see." Amina drew the child close. "Do not mind him, my son. Pain makes people speak foolishly." That night, the moon was full and bright, yet the house felt dim. Amina lay awake beside Obinna, their backs turned toward each other, two suns rising from different horizons. "You are too hard on him," she said quietly. "He admires you, you know." Obinna groaned. "He admires everyone, even his imaginary father. Maybe his father is more real than you think." The silence that followed was sharp enough to cut air. He turned, facing her. "You brought this on us, Amina. You and that boy with eyes like prophecy." "I brought love into this house," she replied softly. "You are the one fighting it." He rose from the bed, angered by truths too heavy to swallow. "I will not be lectured by a woman who thinks heaven speaks through an orphan." Her voice broke. "We were all orphans once, until God adopted us." For a long moment he said nothing. Then he left the room. Outside, the wind carried distant hymns from a night vigil down the road. Obinna walked to the gate, his heart tight. He looked up and saw the moon, staring like a single unblinking eye. He muttered, "What does that boy know of pain, of being forgotten?" A faint sound drifted through the window. Chimdindu praying again. "Father, teach Papa Obinna to rest in you." The words stung like salt in a wound. He clenched his fists and whispered, "Tell your father to give me a better job first." But deep inside, the crack had already begun. The next morning, Chimdindu drew a picture with charcoal, 3 figures holding hands beneath a great sun. He ran to Amina with it, smiling. "Mama, this is us," she smiled tenderly. "And who is the 4th one standing above the sun?" "That's my father. He is watching over us all." When Obinna saw the drawing, he tore it in two. "Do not bring your fantasies into my house," Amina gasped. "Why, Obinna?" "Because I am tired of living under a roof where a strange boy sees visions, while I, the man, cannot even see a way forward." The boy gathered the torn paper quietly, piecing it back together. He said nothing, only sang in a low voice, "I have a Father, Almighty Father. He never fails." And as he sang, a gentle light filtered through the window, not from the sun, but from something higher. It touched the boy's face and lingered there, while Obinna turned away, unsettled. That night, Amina dreamed of a circle drawn in the sand, glowing faintly. From its center, a small hand reached out, holding light. A voice said, "When the circle is broken, the dawn will come." She woke with tears in her eyes and a strange peace in her heart. Beside her, Obinna slept uneasily, his brow furrowed as though wrestling unseen things. The boy's song echoed faintly in her mind, and she knew heaven had entered her house disguised as a child. The days that followed were heavy with silence. Amina moved through the house like one carrying fragile glass. Every word she spoke was measured, every smile half-born. Chimdindu, ever gentle, filled the emptiness with hymns, the kind that rose and fell like waves upon unseen shores. Obinna heard the songs and felt both guilt and anger stirring inside him. He worked longer hours, not out of diligence, but escape, as though absence could drown a restless conscience. But lives are living things. They breathe, they grow, and one day they demand to be acknowledged. That day came sooner than he thought. At the restaurant where Obinna worked, a man in a neat suit entered one afternoon. He carried the air of wealth and the confidence of those who never kneel. Obinna recognized him, Elder Okifa, an elder from Grace Chapel, who always shook hands with the manager after Sunday service. "Ah, Manager Obinna," the elder greeted warmly, stepping into the hall. Obinna froze. His broom hung mid-air. The other cleaners turned. His Lee stood naked before the sun. Elder Okifa blinked, confused. You work here." The broom slipped from Obinna's hand. His voice faltered. "Yes, sir. Just helping out today. But lies, once cornered, have no mercy on their masters." A supervisor approached, addressing him curtly. "Obinna, you've not mopped that corner." The elder's eyes widened. A long silence fell between them, one that tasted of shame. Without another word, Elder Okifa left, and Obinna knew the truth had begun its slow, holy pursuit. That evening, he returned home before dusk, a rare thing. Amina's eyes brightened with surprise. "You're early, my husband," he nodded, his face grey with exhaustion. "I didn't feel well." Chimdindu ran to him, holding up a small clay carving. "Papa, I made this at school. It's you." Obinna looked at it, a crude figure standing beside a smaller one, both beneath a cross. He forced a smile and set it aside. "Thank you, my son." The word son left a bitter taste on his tongue, though he did not know why. Amina noticed the heaviness in his voice. "Obinna, is something wrong at work?" He waved her off. "Nothing I can't handle," but in his mind, Elder Okofa's face would not leave. 2 days later, Amina attended midweek fellowship at Grace Chapel. When she returned, her eyes were troubled. She set her Bible down and said quietly, "Elder Okifa greeted me today. He looked different. He said he'll be praying for you." Obinna stiffened. "He told you that?" "Yes, and he said, 'Truth is light, and light has begun to visit your home.'" Obinna stood abruptly, his chest tightening. "He has no right to meddle in my life." Amina stepped closer. "Then tell me yourself, husband, what darkness hides in our home that light must expose." Her words pierced through his armor. He turned away, murmuring, "Some pasts are better left buried." But Amina only whispered, "Even the buried here when heaven speaks, he left the room. That night, he walked aimlessly through the streets of Amani. The night market hummed with life, traders calling out prices, generators groaning in tired rhythm. He envied their simplicity, their ability to sleep without the weight of deceit pressing on their ribs. As he wandered, he reached the old part of town where his mother once lived. The small house stood silent, eaten by rust and memory. He had not visited in years, not since the day he ran from home, abandoning the past that haunted him. He almost turned back when he heard a familiar voice behind him. "Obinna, my son," he froze. It was Mama Aday's, older now, frail but unbroken, standing in the doorway with a kerosene lamp. Her eyes glowed like embers of forgiveness. "Mama," he whispered. "You remembered this place at last," she said softly. "But why come at night? Do you fear the day will recognize your shame?" Obinna fell to his knees, his breath ragged. "I have built my life on lies, Mama, every word, every dream, all dust." She placed a trembling hand on his head. "When a man hides his wound, it rots, but when he opens it to the air of truth, even the flies flee," he wept. For the first time in years, he let the tears come freely, and as they fell, the wind outside rose like a prayer taking flight. In the dim light, Mama Aday spoke again, her voice low and steady. "You remember Ngozi, the servant girl who lived with us before you left?" Obinna nodded, his heart slowing. "I remember. What of her?" "She bore a son." "Your son?" The lamp flickered. The room seemed to tilt. "My son," he whispered. "Yes, you left before she could tell you. She died in childbirth." The boy was taken to an orphanage. His name is Chimdindu. Obinna's world cracked open. Memories collided. The boy's eyes, his prayers, his quiet strength. Every word he had mocked now echoed with divine irony. "My God," he breathed. "All this time, in my own house." His mother's eyes shone with tears. "The circle always returns to where it began. But this time, my son, break it, before it breaks you." Obinna bowed his head, trembling. The truth he had run from had finally come home. He returned at dawn. The air smelled of wet earth and redemption. Amina and Chimdindu were in the yard, watering the small garden. When Chimdindu saw him, he ran forward. "Papa, you're home early." Obinna dropped to his knees, pulling the boy into his arms. His tears soaked the child's hair. "Forgive me, my son." "My son." Amina froze, confusion clouding her face. "Obinna, what is this?" He turned to her, voice shaking. "The child we adopted is my own blood. The one I rejected was the one heaven sent to heal me." Amina's knees gave way. She covered her mouth, weeping. Chimdindu simply smiled, the calm smile of one who had always known. "I told you, Mama," he said quietly. "My father never forgets." That evening, the three of them sat beneath the mango tree. The same place where Amina had first seen the boy, where the circle had quietly begun. Now, under the soft twilight, Obinna felt a peace he had never known. He took Amina's hand. "No more lies, no more pride. Let the circle end here." The wind stirred gently, carrying the sound of church bells from afar. And for the first time in 7 years, the house that had been filled with silence began to hum with the music of restoration. Morning came quietly, like a visitor who knocks and waits before entering. The cock's crow rose faintly from a distance. Dew clung to the leaves of the pawpaw tree, trembling like silver tears. Inside the house, Amina sat with Chimdindu as the boy read aloud from the Psalms, his voice tender and confident. Obinna stood by the doorway, listening. Every word struck his heart like a hammer shaping metal. "The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear?" Obinna's throat tightened. The words he had once ignored now found soil within him. He watched the boy's lips move, and for the first time, saw the resemblance, the curve of his jaw, the shape of his eyes. He saw himself reflected in the child he had despised. Later that day, Obinna went to Grace Chapel. He had not entered its compound since the day his shame had been unmasked at work. Now, as he walked through the churchyard, the rustle of palm fronds sounded like whispers of the saints. Elder Okafor saw him approaching and paused, the broom in his hand still mid-sweep. Obinna bowed his head. "Elder," he began, "I have come to confess what pride kept hidden. I lied, I pretended. I have been a man walking in circles, never moving forward." The elder's eyes softened. "My son, the light does not come to condemn but to cleanse. Even a wound that smells can still heal if exposed to air." He placed a hand on Obinna's shoulder. "Go home, Obinna. Settle your heart with your Maker. When truth enters a house, every shadow must shift." Obinna knelt by the old wooden altar and prayed, his tears mixing with dust. When he rose, the church seemed brighter, not because the sun had changed, but because he had. That evening, he gathered his family in the sitting room. Amina sat quietly, her eyes watchful. Chimdindu knelt on the mat, clutching his Bible, as though it were a living thing. Obinna cleared his throat. "I have lied to you both," he said slowly. "Not only about my job, but about my past. I thought I could build a new life on old deceit. But a house built on dust will crumble with the first wind." Amina's eyes filled, but she said nothing. "When I was young," Obinna continued, "I loved a woman named Ngozi. She bore me a son I never knew. I ran from the truth, and found the same truth waiting in my own home. Chimdindu is my blood, my redemption." Silence spread across the room like incense smoke. Amina looked at the boy, then at her husband. "God has a strange way of writing straight with crooked lines," she whispered. The boy smiled, radiant and untroubled. "Papa, I told my father you would come back to him," he said. Obinna knelt before him. "Forgive me, Chimdindu. For the times I spoke foolishly, for the days I turned away." The boy placed his small hands on Obinna's head, the way children sometimes do when they know secrets beyond their age. "Papa," he said softly, "he has already forgiven you." In the weeks that followed, Obinna changed. He still swept floors, but now he sang hymns as he worked. He told the truth about himself to his employers, expecting mockery, but instead, they respected his courage. Within a month, they promoted him to supervisor. At home, peace settled like morning mist. Amina began teaching women in the fellowship how to pray through storms. Chimdindu grew stronger, taller, and more full of light. Yet peace is never without its shadow. Obinna's new honesty made him enemies among those who thrived in deceit. Some mocked him for his newfound humility. "Ah, see our saintly cleaner. Maybe one day heaven will make him bishop," they sneered. But Obinna smiled. He had walked long enough in darkness to recognize the value of light. One evening, Chimdindu fell ill. It began with a fever that rose like a tide. Amina wept as she pressed cool cloths to his forehead. Obinna knelt by the bed, trembling. "Not again, Lord," he prayed. "Don't take this child away. Don't close the circle you just opened." Through the long night, the boy's breathing weakened. At dawn, he opened his eyes faintly and whispered, "Papa, do you remember what I told you? When the circle is broken, the dawn will come." Obinna clutched his hand. "Stay with me, Chimdindu. You are my dawn." The boy smiled faintly. "The dawn belongs to my father. I only came to show you the way." Then he closed his eyes, his chest rising once, then falling into stillness. Amina screamed. Obinna held her as the world seemed to crumble again. But even in his grief, he remembered the boy's words, and deep within, a strange calm stirred. They buried Chimdindu under the mango tree, the same place where Amina first found him and where Obinna's heart had begun to change. On his small headstone, Obinna carved the words, "My God lives." 4 days, Amina could not eat or speak. But one night, she dreamed of Chimdindu standing by a river, his clothes white as sunlight. He waved at her and said, "Mama, tell Papa the dawn has come." When she woke, the air smelled of rain and new beginnings. A year passed. Obinna's life became a quiet testimony in Amani town. He helped orphans, spoke gently to the proud, and walked humbly before all. The restaurant grew under his care, and one day, the owner, a foreign man with kind eyes, called him into the office. "Mr. Obinna," he said, "I'm retiring. I need someone trustworthy to manage this place. You have shown me honesty rare in this world. The job is yours." Obinna wept openly. He remembered Chimdindu's small hands on his head, the boy's quiet prayers. Every Sunday, Amina and Obinna sat beneath the mango tree after church. They would listen to the rustle of the leaves and feel that quiet peace that only comes when a circle has been broken. Sometimes, the wind would pass through, carrying a faint melody, a child's voice singing softly, "I have a Father, Almighty Father. He never fails," and Obinna would smile through tears. "Yes, my son," he would whisper. "He never fails." Moral reflection: when a man hides his truth, he walks in circles, chasing shadows of himself. But when he kneels before the light, even his broken paths become straight, for every circle ends where God's mercy begins, and the dawn always comes for those who wait in faith. The rains came early that year in Amani. Thunder rolled over the hills, like drums of old spirits being silenced by heaven's command, and the river behind Grace Chapel swelled with wild joy. Everywhere the land spoke of renewal, cassava shoots pushing through the soil, mangoes dropping in abundance, and the wind smelling of things reborn. Amina often stood by that river in the evenings. She would watch the water curl and shimmer, listening to its endless murmur, as though the current carried the boy's laughter somewhere upstream. Sometimes she whispered his name, Chimdindu, and felt her chest warm instead of ache. It was as if his spirit had become the breath of the wind itself. People said Obinna had become a changed man. He no longer walked with the proud stiffness that once marked his steps. Now he moved with the quiet assurance of a man who had wrestled with God and come away healed. The restaurant prospered under his care, but more than profit, he sought peace. He began each morning sweeping the tiled floor, singing softly, "Though my flesh and my heart fail, the Lord is the strength of my heart forever." The workers, once mocking, now watched him with respect that words could not name. They said the new manager carried a light that could not be quenched, and when quarrels rose among them, Obinna's calm voice would settle the air like cool rain on red dust. At home, Amina had become a teacher of women, not in the way of books, but in the way of scars. Every Tuesday afternoon, they gathered beneath the shade of the mango tree that marked Chimdindu's resting place. There, Amina spoke of endurance, of God's silence that hides his deeper plans, of how love can bloom even from a grave. The women listened, sometimes weeping, sometimes smiling, and whenever the breeze rustled through the leaves, they all fell quiet, for it sounded like a child singing among them. One day, a young widow came trembling to her. "Mama Amina," she said, "I have cursed God in my pain. How can I begin again?" Amina touched her hands gently. "The river does not curse the stones that bruise it," she said. "It only keeps flowing toward the sea." The woman broke into tears and clung to her. That night, Amina knelt under the mango tree and whispered, "My son, your voice still heals through me." As the months passed, Obinna began to dream again. In his dreams, he saw himself by a river very much like the one behind Grace Chapel. Across it stood Chimdindu, taller now, radiant like dawn clothed in human form. The boy would call, "Papa, the river is not to divide us, it is to remind you that grace always flows." Obinna would wake each time with tears on his face and peace in his chest. He told Amina about these dreams. She only smiled. "Maybe heaven keeps him as its messenger," she said, "and the river you see is mercy, ever between what was and what shall be." One Sunday, Obinna was asked to speak in church. He stood behind the pulpit, a man who once hid behind lies now standing before truth. The congregation watched as he spoke softly, the sound of rain pattering on the roof. "My brothers and sisters," he said, "I walked long in darkness. I thought strength meant never bending, and wisdom meant hiding my wounds. But I learned that the Lord only mends what is placed in his hands. When I opened my past to his light, I found a son I never knew, and through that son, I found myself. The church was still. Even the children stopped fidgeting. I buried that child, Obinna continued, but I did not bury his message. He came to teach me that grace does not erase our past, it redeems it. When you surrender your shame to God, He turns it into soil where joy can grow again. When He finished, many were crying, not from sorrow, but from release. Elder Okifer stood and placed a hand on Obinna's shoulder. You have preached without lifting a Bible, he said, for your life has become the sermon. That evening, as the sunset poured gold across Amani, Obinna and Amina walked to the river. They sat together in silence, watching the water reflect the sky's last light. Do you miss him? Amina asked softly. Every breath, Obinna replied. But I no longer grieve, I listen. Every time the wind moves, I hear him saying, Papa, the dawn has come. He took her hand. Amina, thank you for believing when I could not. You carried faith for both of us, she smiled, resting her head on his shoulder. We both carried the same promise, Obinna. It just took heaven's timing to unwrap it. They sat until the stars appeared. Small fires scattered across the velvet sky, and when they finally rose to leave, the moon hung full above them, round and whole, like a circle completed by grace. Years later, travelers who passed through Amani would hear of a man and woman who built an orphan home near the river, a place called House of the Dawn. They said no child left that place without hope, and that the laughter of unseen angels sometimes mingled with the children's songs at dusk. In the center of the compound stood a mango tree, beneath which a simple stone read, Chimdindu, my God lives. When the circle is broken, the dawn will come, and those who came broken left believing again. Dawn rose slowly over Amani that morning, painting the sky in gold and ash. The mist lingered above the river, like a veil between two worlds. Birds stirred in the trees, their wings shaking off the night silence. And in the house by the mango tree, the house of the dawn, the world was waking to the rhythm of grace. Children's laughter echoed from the courtyard, their bare feet pattering against the wet earth. Amina stood by the window, watching them. Each child's smile was a different miracle, some shy, some bright, all alive. She thought of Chimdindu and whispered, Your brothers and sisters are growing, my son, the house is full now. A wind passed through the mango tree, and for a moment, she thought she heard a small voice singing among the leaves. I have a father, Almighty Father. She smiled. Yes, she murmured, he never fails. Obinna was by the river, his feet sunk slightly in the cool mud. He had come to fetch water, but when he saw the reflection of the sunrise rippling across the surface, he paused. The light shimmered like liquid fire, and something stirred in him, not sorrow, not longing, but recognition. He knelt, cupping the water in his hands. It felt alive, like it carried a heartbeat. And then he heard it, faint but clear, the laughter of a boy carried by the breeze. He looked up. Across the river, just where the mist met the sun, he saw a figure, small, radiant, waving, Chimdindu. The boy smiled, the same calm smile that had melted stone hearts. Papa, the voice came, not loud but certain, the circle is not ending. It is opening. Obinna's breath caught. He could not speak, only watch as light folded gently around the boy. And then, as the mist rose, the vision faded into morning. He knelt there, weeping, not the tears of loss, but of fullness. My father, he whispered, thank you, I see now. That afternoon, the people of Amani gathered at House of the Dawn for the home's 3rd anniversary. Elder Okifer spoke to the crowd, his voice filled with pride and awe. Once, this man walked in darkness, he said, pointing at Obinna, but now he walks in light so bright that others find their way through it. This house stands not on wealth, but on repentance that turned to grace. The children clapped. Amina's eyes glistened. Obinna stood beside her, humble yet strong. He raised his hand slightly and said, Let this house be a river, not to keep people apart, but to lead them to the sea of mercy. Whoever drinks from it, let them find hope again. And as the people echoed Amen, a soft wind stirred, circling the yard like invisible wings. That night, when all had gone to sleep, Obinna sat beneath the mango tree. The moon was full, watching over the land like an ancient witness. He thought of his journey, of lies, loss, and the strange mercy that had rewritten them all. Amina came and sat beside him, wrapping a shawl around her shoulders. Neither spoke for a long time. The night was to holy for noise. Then she said quietly, "Do you ever wonder why God allowed the pain before the peace?" He nodded slowly. "I used to, but I think pain is the plough that breaks the ground for joy. Without it, the seed of faith cannot enter." They sat in silence again. Then from the house came the gentle hum of a hymn, one of the older children, singing in their sleep. The sound mingled with the rustle of the mango leaves and the murmur of the river. It was as though all creation was singing one song, the song of dawn. Years would pass, and Amani would change. The roads would widen, the old chapel would rise again with stained glass and new bells. But the story of the house of the dawn would remain. Travelers would pause to pray under the mango tree, and mothers would tell their children the tale of the boy who came as a gift, left as a light, and lived forever in song. And some said that on certain mornings, just as the first sunbeam touched the river, they heard a child's laughter floating in the mist, gentle, joyful, free. "Papa, the dawn has come."